Welcome everyone to the one-day Somatic Attachment Healing Summit at the Embodied Lab. Let me introduce myself. My name is Abby, spelled like a bright idea. Joining us is Manuela Mishkarit in the impulse to connect, healing attachment trauma through micro movements and relational somatic awareness. Allow me to introduce you to our speaker. Manuela Mishkarit is an international teacher of mindfulness-based somatic psychology. She co-directs the Hakumi Institute of California and teaches in the US, Europe, and Australia. A meditation practitioner for over 25 years, Manuela lectures, consults, and trains professionals in mindfulness, attachment, trauma, and movement therapy. She maintains a private psychotherapy practice in Menlo Park, California. And I will add her details into the chat. Thank you, everyone. Everyone, a warm welcome to Manuela, please.
Thank you so much, Abby. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Sounds like you already had a beautifully full day. I'm Manuela. So what I was going to do here in our short time together is give you some cliff notes, how I think about attachment, and then actually do a couple of experiential pieces with. And I welcome you from the beautiful California, which is I'm on the land of the Miwok Native land here in Northern California, and welcome you from here. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the impulse to connect. As you probably have heard in your lectures, you've had some incredible speakers I saw lined up, just beautiful teachers. And you have already learned about attachment patterns, and I'm sure you have already learned, I didn't get a chance to listen, but I'm sure you have learned how critical and how important it is these very first years or the very first weeks of life, how important it is to connect with a securely attached human in order to become another securely attached human. Right? This is how we become thriving nervous systems. We learn through another nervous system, and ideally through a mother and a father together, or two primary caregivers that are lovingly attuning to us. And what attuning means from a somatic perspective, I'm a somatic psychotherapist, so everything I say goes through a Soma filter here. But what it means from a somatic perspective is this is a parent who knows how to listen through sensing and feeling. It's the being that parenting. And it's the, many, many micro moments of glancing at a child lovingly, of touching them with a little caress, of listening to their breath and then synchronizing your own breath to the child's breath. And it's these many, many moments throughout a day, throughout the night, right, where you're tuning into this nervous system, this beginning nervous system of an infant. And you're in training, mother and child. I'm going to use shorthand for mother. Studies have shown that a stable caregiver can do that same imprinting, but I'm going to use mother as shorthand right now for language purposes. But studies have shown that if a mother who's securely attached to herself and she is attuning to her child, it becomes a rhythm of relationship. It's a rhythm, it's a dance. And this dance is done a million times, right? Through that breath, that sound, the rhythm of the language of the voice, the way the mother speaks, the cooing. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but in the first 6 months of a baby's life, the language tracks in the brain actually get laid down, and even language preference. Before they can utter even a word, the child is already kind of shaped in their brain and their whole soma towards the language of the primary parent, before they can even say a word. And it happens through all these glances, touch, rhythm, sound, all that they're exposed to. So this new nervous system is entraining themselves with this other securely attached nervous system. And as you probably have heard already, these two nervous systems entrain each other. It's always, in the beginning, in attachment research, they thought, the baby comes in as a blank slate, which they do not. Right? And then there's like the parent who just like dumps all the stuff into the kid. That's not how it goes. These are two highly complex nervous systems that are actually interacting and influencing each other. So this baby's nervous system is also changing the mother's nervous system and parent, right? So please add that in there, but the parent's nervous system as well. So it's a change process. Why I'm making such a big deal out of these very first moments of life, these first few weeks of life, because it sets up the template for the rhythm of relationship. These are unconscious, these are somatic. These are how we're being related to, what we're learning about this relationship, how the touch that I'm receiving, I'm melting into the touch, right, as a baby. Or if it's an aggressive touch, I'm going to shriek away from that touch. If I'm being lovingly cooed over, oh, you're so cute, right? The baby's going to go, I love the sound. And there's actually research on the pitch tone of how, motherese, you heard this, how we all talk to babies. We go, oh, you're so cute. There's a reason we all go up with pets and little children is because we're stimulating different parts of the brain and they need to be stimulated. And it's a fireworks in the brain of excitation and connectivity. So we are connecting, mom and baby, and my brain is interconnecting because of this dyadic exchange, this connecting exchange. And so it's a somatic imprinting. Before I can say anything, before I can even go, are you really my mother? I don't have any of this ability, but I'm already learning through your nervous system how to be in connection, and I'm imprinted somatically with how to do that. Why that is so critical, because fast forward later, we all have been there in these relationships that don't work out, and we go, why? And then the next one is kind of similar to the last one, and then to the last one, and to the last one. What's going on? It's because that rhythm of relationship is who we think we are, is part of the building blocks, right? And this is where therapy comes in, and attachment therapy comes in. Because guess what? An attachment therapist, especially a somatic attachment therapist, is tuning into that rhythm. They're tuning into the rhythm that's there, and then finding a new rhythm, and hopefully teaching through this dynamic exchange a new and expanded rhythm of relationship. So, of course, if we are insecurely attached or traumatically attached, that rhythm has staccato, has interruption, has fear, has anxiety in it, has collapse, has frozen patterns, and all these other patterns that are not conducive to a thriving, opening relationship. So, what a somatic attachment therapist does, they tune into what is this rhythm? And you've been there with people where you go like, I don't know quite how to connect. How do I connect? And you might feel awkward, and you didn't feel like that with the other person 2 minutes before, but you're noticing this tango is a little bit more staccato-ish. That's the rhythm of relationship. Have you been there with loved ones or friends or people that you met and just go like, we're just not clicking, right? And if you really are taking back and don't take it personal, you're noticing, this is the kind of dance of relationship this person is used to or capable of or only available for. So I'm giving you a very quick course here through attachment, but attachment is really so fundamental to any kind of relationship in our lives. Of course, we all would love to have the perfectly securely attached mother, and this is just not always how it happens, right? So we have insecurely attached relationships that are ambivalent. I'm sure you have learned about this, ambivalent or avoidant or disorganized. And disorganized is really a traumatic pattern. That's really a lot of attachment has gone wrong. Most of the population actually is ambivalently attached. Yes, I want to be with you. No, I don't want to be with you. Or maybe I do, maybe I'm not. Right? The ambivalent attachment. And we all have a version of that. Some of it is healthy and some of it is not, right? And so again, if you're with somebody who's ambivalently attached and you're securely attached, you can imagine that dance being more like this, right? So the reason why this all matters is because we're learning through our nervous system imprinting, through our primary parent, we're learning relationship rhythm. And this rhythm gets replayed again and again and again until we come against those limitations where we go like, oh, what's going on? And we start doing that kind of work. And then we realize the parent was ambivalent, or they weren't really there when we were little in the formative years, or some trauma happened that never got healed, and so on. Attachment can be earned. Not all is lost. Yeah, people often talk to me and they say, "Oh my God, I had this horrible attachment and terrible childhood, and now I'm doomed forever." No, you're not. Our brain, our body is neuroplastic. We can learn, and we can learn through experience. This is why somatic work is so incredibly important. And this is where talk therapy, although very helpful, has a limitation, because we don't usually go to a classic talk therapist and make room for sensing and feeling and knowing and learning the knowing of our body, right? That takes time, that takes attunement, that takes a very patient therapist that just really waits and knows how to open up these somatic spaces internally. That's a particular skill set. And if we're constantly talking, where, as you know this too, right? If you're always in talk mode, you don't have enough sensing mode. And it's all in the sensing mode where we understand the attachment disruption and also then gain new capabilities in our own nervous system to then relate. So we can learn attachment. It's called earning attachment. So we can learn that. It's very doable. And one part is by having an attuned, patient, loving, kind therapist where we learn this, and also having loving, kind friends or loved ones that we learn that some relationships are safe enough, or trustworthy enough, right? And I'm saying enough because there's no such thing as perfect safety or perfect anything. Would you agree with me? Yes? But what, of course, the inner child will say, "I want the perfect world and the perfect mom and dad." Well, what we have to learn is that it can be perfect enough, safe enough. And even if I say that to you, safe enough, does something relax in your body? Safe enough? Yeah. So that's what we're going for. We're learning to learn in this nervous system how to become safe enough in ourselves. So one is the attuned somatic relationship. We need another because we're learning through the rhythm of relationship. But the second is with ourselves, our own body, because that's a relationship too. And when we have often experienced insecure attachment or traumatic attachments, and the feelings of our own body don't feel safe to ourselves. Right? And I'm sure some of you who've had traumatic experiences in early attachment phase, or if there's been a disruption of attachment, or there's been some kind of disconnect of the primary figure, like you've been adopted or hospitalization or things like that, often there is that kind of rupture. And what happens is it's also not just a rupture of the connection with this essential person, but it's also a rupture of my own body, because guess what? An infant doesn't go like, "It's really bad that you did this to me." They don't have the cognition yet, right? But what happens is the feeling is like, "I am bad, I'm withdrawing, this is scary." And so the somatic pattern is shutting down, freezing, contracting. And what happens to all of us when we're in a freezing, contracting pattern in the body, we feel pretty miserable, right? We get sad, we get depressed, we shut down. Then we don't have access to the connectivity even within ourselves. So mindfulness is wonderful, but I have to also say that mindfulness sometimes, again, this is all about the right application. Just mindfulness alone, sitting in a monastery, I'm being facetious, I'm a mindfulness teacher, but sitting in a monastery alone on a cushion for a month-long retreat can actually enhance the attachment trauma. So what we want is we want to have a way of working with our body that's very connecting. And guess what? It's breathing, it's sound, it's movement, it's sensing, it's connecting into our body and learning that even in places of contraction, there are openings, right? So one of the explorations I like to work with, there are many beautiful, and I'm so glad that you're at Embodied Lab, because at Embodied they've done a great job just pulling together the most incredible experts around the world on somatics here. And there are literally so many beautiful somatic methodologies, techniques, really literally all good. So what I'm doing today is I'm just highlighting a couple, I'm just cherry picking a couple for us to play with, so that you get a kind of embodied sense of what is even somatics. And for those of you who are completely new to somatics, soma means the body, means coming back to the body. This is where we start. We start with this body. We start with this incarnation, right? And our body is this incredible technology of deep mystery process, but also information. But when we have experienced trauma, the information that comes from our body often doesn't feel pleasurable. It feels like a lot of discomfort. It reminds us of pain, and we want to avoid it. We want to pull away from it. And this is what attachment styles are, right? I don't want to be in relationship because people hurt, right? People like that who, whatever I know from who hurt me, they feel like that. And I'm sure you've been in situations where you walk in, you meet somebody new, and you immediately didn't like them. And you don't know why. They're perfectly fine. They were friendly. And you don't know why you don't like them. Well, if we really took a snapshot and we could rewind why that is, it's probably somatically they reminded you of the person that hurt you. It's a glance. It's an expression, and we do micro expression all the time. So here's another fun but interesting fact. A mother who is insecurely attached or even disorganized attachment, again, they have somebody who's disorganized in their attachment style means they're quite incapable of actually connecting, and it's the connecting is through aggression or even violence, hurtful ways of connecting. And a mother who is insecurely attached or has a lot of aggression or depression with an infant will often not be very patient or kind. And everybody knows being with a newborn is very difficult. Here's a squirmy little newborn that doesn't want to be diapered. And they've done these footages where the mother is either having a very flat affect, and the baby is wired, okay? Every baby is wired. That's why they're so cute. That's why we all coo, over babies. Puppies the same way, because they have these cute little oxytocin eyes, and they look at us and they tilt their head, right? You know about the head tilt, right? Every dog, cat, and baby, when they do this, we're all like, "Aww." The filmmakers know this too. They got us with this. So, there are certain cues of the nervous system that speak to us as a mammal and go like, oh, I want to take care of you. I want to, nurture you. I want to be tender towards you. A mother who is depressed or who is agitated or activated in her trauma will not read those cues. She can't see them, okay? And what happens is the baby makes what's called bid for connections. Right? The lips pout, the eyes look super cute, the head tilt, the other movements in the body, and those cues are not picked up. So guess what happens to the baby? The cues are not being reciprocated. They're not being answered. So what happens to the baby is the baby begins to shut down. So I'm not going to try, right? And thus begins an attachment disruption. We're getting more and more disconnected. And furthermore, a mother who has a lot of trauma and gets agitated by the needs of the baby might react to the needs of the baby in a miscued way, meaning that a cute little coo or a fussiness or like an arch, which every baby does, like, I'm not comfortable, I don't like this, and don't feed me spinach, or, squirminess. Clearly you know what I liked. A mother who's securely attached will go, oh, you don't like spinach? Let me try the carrots. Oh, let's try that again. Or let's do a game, right? Mothers by nature, again, mothers, parents, are very creative, right? They come up with these games and these rhymes, and this is literally across any kind of culture. This is cross-cultural. But a parent who has a traumatic attachment will get aggressive, impatient, and what they do is they show certain facial features like a bare-toothed grin. I don't know if you heard of that, but they flash the canine teeth. If I go like this to you and turn my head and show you my canine teeth, what's the feeling you're going to have? Danger. So now I'm imprinting our connection is dangerous. I'm giving you just highlights. It's more complicated, but now imagine this interaction happening again and again and again. If it's a one-off, every parent gets impatient. It happens all the time. But if this is part of our rhythm of relationship, I am now internalizing that our connecting is dangerous. You, human, are dangerous. I am feeling in danger in your presence. So that doesn't do very well fast forward 30 years in terms of intimate relationships. So these are somatic micro movement imprints. We do them all the time. And you probably have all had this, your grandmother, your grandfather, or whoever, or the uncle, they do a glance at you and you go like, oh, they adore me, right? Or they do that glance, you go like, okay, I'm not going to do this, right? With one glance. Have you had a relative like that? My grandmother was like that. She just had to do one glance, and then I could even hear my name before she spoke it. And then I would just not do what she, clearly didn't want me to do. So all it took was one little side glance of her. She had a power in her side glance. So there is so much nonverbal communication that we are living by and that we are somatically entrained through and through with. So again, the somatically attuned relationship with a therapist is all about heightening that and coming into it, becoming aware of it, really slowing it down. So when I sit with a client, for example, and I take a glance down, which I often do just to gather my thoughts, and I look back up and my client goes like, oh my gosh, you hate me. And I'm like, what? I could just tell you hate me. You just looked away, right? That was cue for her, the imprint. That's what it meant in her nervous system, right? And that's one of those moments. This happened in a split. This is a real story. This happened in a split second. All I did was look down, gather my thoughts, come back up. And she was convinced she was the most hated client I've ever worked with. Amazing, right? That got triggered. It was a deep, deep trigger. And it was fabulous that it came out, because now we could work with it. And now we could slow down and really feel that. And in the work that I do, especially in Hakomi work, what we do is we just slow that down. It's like, let me do this again. Let me look away, and you study what happens when I come back, right? And this is one of the key aspects of working with somatics. Attachment work, somatically, is working with the eyes, because so much information gets taken in with the eyes on all our sense perceptions. But so much confirmation, and also so much confirmation bias, comes through through our gaze, through our eyes. So what I would like to do is just give you as I said, this is the somatic attunement. This is one piece, how we heal attachment trauma. The other is also coming into relationship with our own body. So it's wonderful if we have a somatically attuned therapist, or if we have a somatically attuned friend who's always really there and loving and kind, or spouse, or so on, or community. That's fantastic. But then there's also work to be doing by ourselves. What's it like to come into connection with my own body? And one of the most important things is your skin. Your skin is the largest organ. We have all these receptors in our skin. And in particular, I think there are 3,000 ways to sense through the fingertips. Most of the time, we use our fingers more like bluntly, and we are really not tuning into the sensitivity that our fingertips can give. So, if you're game, I love how you're all looking at your fingertips. Really? You have this incredible technology here, right? So what I'd like us to do is to wake up our fingertips in a moment, and if it's okay, just have I don't know where you are, which country or climate zone you are, but if you're comfortable, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my jacket off, so I have some arm exposed. So I'd like it to have some skin exposure, because we're going to work with our fingertips and our skin. And you can do this sitting, reclining, lying down, whatever feels comfortable. And what we're going to do, and I'll talk you through in a moment, we're going to work with sensitizing our fingertips to our actual skin. And I like you to think of your beautiful skin as having 10,000 eyes. Like your entire skin is so awake, because that's what a baby is. If you ever watched a baby being born, an unmedicated birth, babies are completely alive in their skin. They have the 10,000 eyes in their skin. Okay, because they can't see very well yet. Their focus is it's not very sharp yet. And so they're sensing mom, dad, the environment, like an octopus, really, right? Have you ever seen an octopus, how they're these beautiful tentacles? They're really more like that. They're like an aquatic creature that just emerged from the amniotic fluid, and they're sensing their environment. What does a parent do right away? They touch them, they smell them, they swaddle them. They're actually tending to the quality of connection through skin, right? And preemies often are put in kangaroo, right? Skin to skin. That's how babies who are premature, they thrive when they have skin to skin contact. They've done that in some studies as well. So the skin is incredibly important when it comes to connectivity. So Let's do this. What I like you to do is, if you have cold hands like myself, we've got winter in California here, I'm gonna just warm my hands up a little bit with a friction. And you're welcome to take your eyes off the screen, close them, or take them away. I'll talk you through this for this bit. So just make sure your hands are warm. I'm going to massage my hands a little bit, just like waking them up, like looking at my hands, feeling them, looking at my fingers. And I like it to have a very loving attitude to your fingers and hands. They do a lot for you every single day. They bring you food, they wash you, they point to stuff, they swipe on the iPhone, they type. These poor fingers and hands, they do a lot of work for you. So just take a moment of appreciation. These fabulous hands, they've gotten you through a lot. And no matter how worn out or aged these hands are, just really look at them and go like, job well done, hands and fingers. Just feel that for a moment. Like you deserve every age spot, every wrinkle. Yeah. And when you feel like they're a little bit warm, then just open your hands and just close your eyes and just sense your hands from the inside. Taking a breath, exhaling. And I like you to have your hands quite open and let them pulse as if that octopus image is a really great image, as if you're like, and if you don't like octopi, then another pulsing animal, an amoeba maybe, or I don't know what you like, but something that's kind of pulsing like a warm ocean, a wave. I like you to just let those hands be a little bit pulsing, as if every fingertip is moving independently and they're kind of searching and feeling in the environment. So you can see my hands. I'm going to lift them if you're looking at me at all. I'm just kind of moving them around a little bit. And I'm not moving them in unison. I'm just letting every fingertip be its individual little sensing organ here. So you're waking up that sensitivity in your hand, fingertips, and now into your skin. I'd like you to really feel the skin of your hands, the palm. You're stretching the hand, the palm stretches. You're kind of closing the hand a little bit. You can feel the stretch on the back of your hand. There's skin between each finger, and there's this beautiful little webbing, a memory from our aquatic ancestors, a little webbing. We used to be in the ocean. And I really feel your hands from the inside, really feeling them from the inside. Let your breath relax, slow down in your attention. And whenever you're ready, let these hands, that one hand doesn't matter, the right on the left arm or the left hand on the right, doesn't matter. I like you to ever so gently begin to land on the arm. Don't plan for anything. Let yourself be surprised. It's like, ooh, they're my fingertips. And let those fingertips search on the arm, on the skin, ever so slightly. So you're not doing any kind of rhythmic anything. You're just letting these fingertips explore like the first landing on the moon, kind of. Let them, ooh, that feels soft and squishy, or whatever is like happening, little hair or creases, and let those fingertips now explore the forearm. Take your time, get really curious. Sensing the fingertips are sensing the skin, the shape of the arm, bones perhaps, or fleshy parts, thick parts, thin parts, creasy parts. Get really, really curious. These fingertips are these explorers on the skin. Exhale, soften your breath even more. Drop into the skin contact there, skin to skin. You might even gently rotate that arm as the hands are exploring, so they're kind of moving with each other. The arm is responding to that gentle exploring touch. Make sure that you really are covering the whole forearm. If you have the arm, only where the skin really is reachable. Really go to wherever you can feel it. Notice what's happening in your breath. You can even let those fingertips go all the way to the other hand, exploring now the palm, the other fingertips. And again, you're exploring skin, temperature. A couple more moments. Easing with your breath. Relax into this contact. And if you feel like it, you can now begin to do a little bit of a like gentle dragging with the fingertips across the skin. So as if you're doing this long, kind of rake-like, gentle strokes up or down or across, diagonally. Again, this very exploratory, as if you're for the first time discovering that you have an arm. And one more breath, and then letting both arms say goodbye to each other, and then rest your arms and just sense into your arms from the inside. And notice what's happening. And you can also compare the arm that you just explored versus the arm that has been unexplored. Is there some jealousy between the two arms right now? Yeah? Some of you going, yeah. So feel that. How does it feel different? How are they different? And how do you know it? How do you know it? How do you sense it? How do you get this information? What tells you? And let's not let this other arm be too jealous. Let's give the other arm, because if they're too jealous, then give the other arm a little bit more attention. So do the same thing. We'll go a little bit faster this time. But just do the same thing. Other hand, other fingertips, exploring the arm. You know what to do now. Let those fingertips be super curious, and all those 5 fingertips can independently search across the arm for these interesting crevices, temperatures, waking up that incredible skin organ. So much information through the skin. And if it's comfortable, just a gentle little pressure, like a dragging across, so you can feel that first layer underneath the skin, the connective tissue. Feels like a gentle, gentle pressure. Again, super gentle. the slower and the gentler you go, the more sensation actually wake up. The more you allow that exploratory quality. One more breath. And then again, let your arms rest. And then just sensing again from the inside what's available to you now from the arms, from that skin and the arms. What kind of information is coming to you right now? And then compare that with the rest of your skin, because you have a huge area of the skin we haven't touched with, which we don't have time for today, but you just notice the difference of the skin on your arms right now and compare that to, for example, your chest or your back or your belly or your legs. Are they all jealous now? Yeah? Yeah, great. And how would you describe, yes, you can put it in the chat now, how would you describe what's happening in your arms? What are some of the descriptors? Tingling, aliveness, yes, vibration, joyful, relaxed, soothed, calmed. You're fatigued now, yeah, I'm tired, huh? Yeah, lighter, cared for, beautiful, yeah. And because we're talking about attachment, your arms feel really loved, wonderful. So feel into the how it's connecting. What tells you that they're connected? Trembling, connected to yourself, awake, expanded. Yeah. And of course, if you have any kind of limitations in your body, when we begin to work somatically, it often also heightens like, oh, I have this limitation or I have this pain. And that's part of working somatically. You go, oh, yes, right? And it comes up. Um, very nice. Beautiful. Presence, yes. And when it first felt lovely, by the day became intrusive, uncomfortable. And when something doesn't feel quite right, pause, slow down, and then go, oh, what do I need to change, right? And you can ask your skin. You can literally ask your skin, how would you like to be touched right now? Because maybe it says, no, I need to be touched maybe this way, maybe more like a little stronger, or I need to have more distance. Or yeah, you feel want to stroke the whole body. Yes, very good. So beautiful, everyone. So this is a very simple technique. Oh, I want to hear about the unsafe. Michelle, can you tell me? Could you come on and tell me, Michelle? Said you said unsafe. Are you willing to talk to me for a moment? Yes, and there's another comment there about when this kind of sensory, it could feel sensual and it could bring up memories, or when somebody has touched you in a toxic way or traumatizing way, right? This is why it's so important. Imagine I be touching you like this, right? That would feel super confusing. So to start with yourself and to actually go like, this is me touching, or even looking, if this is part of the story, to then actually looking and then seeing my own hand, that I'm reclaiming my own touch and I'm reclaiming my own body, is a huge piece of attachment trauma reclaim work. That's very important. And there might be areas of the body where it doesn't feel okay to do that, but there might be other areas where it does. Maybe it's the chest, maybe it's the feet, maybe it's the face. You have to start somewhere, right? And you start with what's accessible. So you always start with safe enough. That's where you start. Yes, brought up sadness, of course, yeah. So I would love to hear, Michelle, are you willing to come on?
I'm here now. Can you
Oh,
hear
okay. Yes,
me?
yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Would you briefly, would you be okay sharing what the unsafe was for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a lot to share with a lot of people, but that's
If you
okay.
don't have to, you
No,
don't have
that's okay. I think the one of the foundational sources it comes from is that my dad related to his kids through, I think you mentioned like some parents when they had traumatic experiences, they attach through like aggression and like aggressive ways of connecting. So he was very like just like kind of aggressive physically with us, and would just like his way of like playing with us was pushing us and like hitting us, and that was like the funny way to connect in our family. So it was a very like aggressive but just I guess like harmful way of connecting.
Absolutely.
I think that's like the basis of it, and then more came from that later in life with like unhealthy touching. But yeah.
And Michelle, if that's okay, do you see me on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank you so much for bringing that in, especially in this kind of container with all these strangers. So thank you so much. So take a moment and anchor yourself on my face for a second. Just notice my face. Does that feel, I'm going to look at the camera right now. Can you see my eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's that like as you're kind of coming here into eye contact with me?
I feel seen.
Great. So notice that feeling seen, and just notice what's happening right now in your breath, body. There you go. You just took a breath. Yeah. Just feel that for a moment, that you're being seen, that you're being held, and right now it's kind of you and I. Just feel that. Yeah. And I'm holding your story that you just brought in. Yeah, there you go. So something just calmed a little bit, yeah?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so this is obviously you didn't plan that, but thank you for demoing that for us.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when you get activated, here you did this beautiful practice, and then you notice that, oof, this traumatic memory came up, and touch was associated with aggression and invasion and not okayness. And somehow I imagine you couldn't really say, no, I don't like this, right? Because
Exactly.
we were buffing the relationship, which you don't have the power to do.
Yep.
Right.
And that's
Exactly.
what, when you looked at me and when it was like, it was okay for me to tell you that it was uncomfortable. It's like,
Right.
okay, that's a good, that's a healthy thing. It
Yeah.
was you saying I don't like that, it wasn't accepted, and it was something was wrong with me then because I didn't like it.
Right. So when you were doing the movement, did you feel like, oh, this wasn't my touch, or this is like it just a memory got triggered?
I think I just felt like disconnected, I would say.
Connected. Okay, so it brought you into, it was like a trigger of the memory of like, oh, this is how I had to cope with it, right?
Mhm.
I had to cope by disconnecting from my own body.
Right.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So if you're game for just one moment here
Yeah.
to feel, even put one hand on another, on your other hand, wherever feels okay and safe right now.
Okay.
Could be even a fingertip to a fingertip.
Excuse me. Let me close my office door 1 second, okay? Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
So where right now does it feel safe enough where you could make a contact skin to skin? It could be literally as little as a fingertip to a fingertip. Just tell me where that is when you got it.
I think on my shoulder.
Ah, okay, I'm seeing that. Yeah, I see a little bit of, so one hand is on the shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so feeling that hand on the shoulder right now is then tell me that's okay, tolerable, I like it. Where are we in that terrain?
It's okay.
Okay,
It doesn't feel bad.
okay, we'll go with that. Oh, that's good. So feel that neutrality. That feels okay. And just notice that this is an okay space and that this is your space. See what the hand that's touching the arm would like to say to your body right now. What happens
Like I said, that I'm not going to hurt you.
there? Mhm.
And my whole body felt more open, I guess.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mhm.
You just came back into connection with your body the way you need to do that. And I noticed your voice kind of dropped. You dropped a little bit more in.
Mm. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
My dog's trying to get to it.
I've got one of those.
Give me 1 second, okay? Thanks. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So thank you for being game. You're being a real trooper here. So just one more moment for you to anchor that this is okay for me. I can connect with myself, my pace, my time, my body. How are you doing right
I think trying to feel my body.
now? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause here because otherwise we'll go into full-on session, which we don't have time for. But thank you so much for demoing even this moment of somatic 2-minute activation happening. And I love that you just felt that. And often through, and I'm going to let you go so you can
Okay.
off
Yeah,
the
you got
thank
it.
you so much, Michelle. And there's a lot of love coming, I think, in the chat your way, looks like.
Aw.
So just take that in as a
Thank you, everyone.
because see, your experience is not just your own. I mean, yes, it's your own experience, but I think a lot of people can resonate. Yes, like we all had. This is the kind of toxic, overreaching kind of touch. And I failed to mention that actually when I kind of talked about these little baby vignettes to a insecurely attached parent will not attune properly to the needs of the child and will also overreach body boundaries. So for example, a little baby, there's a movement that babies do called the hold hand. They go like this. It's actually a hardwired movement and it's cross-cultural. Even when other cultures are having different ways of expressing later on culturally hand movements, a baby will have cross-culturally this movement. So they often do a tongue thrust, like, I really didn't like that spinach. And then they turn their head away and then they go like that, right? This is the universal aversion. We could probably all agree if this shows up, we don't like it, right? We all know how to read that. So the halt hand comes up when a baby wants to set a boundary. Literally, an infant does this. They do it in utero, okay? They've done it with amniocentesis needles. The babies will go like that and want to push it away. So this is a hardwired movement of stop, halt, boundary, no. But an insecurely attached parent will not read this cue and they will override it. So for example, they will take the hand and they push it away or they hold it down or they ignore it or they can't read it and they will invade the body boundary that the baby is trying to set. Securely attached parent will go like, oh, you didn't like that, huh? Oh, and they will play or they will relate to the boundary, but they will not override it. So the example Michelle was giving, I'm just jumping off that as a teaching, is like this is a parent who's not reading the cues of his daughter, right? And is using whatever this roughhousing play as a way to connect, but not reading the relational, like, I don't like it, you're frightening me, I don't know how to do that, I'm ashamed. All of those cues is literally blind to reading them somatically. And that shows you that this is usually the imprint that they have received. This is where intergenerational trauma comes in, by the way. This is all very somatic. These are somatic patterns. Okay. So thank you so much, Michelle, for showing that to us and being so real, because that makes it so much more applicable for us and not just theoretical, right? So coming back to the skin, how was that for you all? Does it feel like an interesting exploration? Because this is a simple technique. Because we know that the skin is you can literally calm yourself with the skin, and there are many different ways to do it in the face and the chest. That's why we often, when we do this, when we get scared, what do? We go, oh, we go like this, right? So we often hold our own chest or we hold our face. It's interesting. right? Somatically speaking, we do this. This is like another innate motion. So the more we can bring this kind of conscious awareness of working with our own skin, this is a way to reconnect and claim our own somatic intelligence. So again, this is just, I'm just cherry picking a one little intervention here that how you can work with yourself of reclaiming parts of your body that felt like, oh, they were, I'm not in a relationship with them, or somebody else was invading my body and I'm claiming that back now. Okay. So I see that there is a lot of questions pouring in. So what I would like to do is, are there any questions? Somebody, Abby, how are we doing? Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? Because I'm seeing tons of them as I'm scrolling through. I'm like overwhelmed.
Okay, we have Michelle and Adrian.
Okay, go ahead.
Michelle, go ahead, please.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi from Pacific Northwest Tacoma territory.
All right.
So I'm interested in what sorts of interventions or kind of I don't know, almost a treatment arc that you would envision for someone who experienced, who was a premature infant. So likely went right into an incubator, experienced that breach, and lots of neglect after that. So very disorganized attachment and high ACE scores.
Mhm. And this person is now how old?
40s.
Oh, this is adult. Okay, this is
Yeah.
not a child. Okay, an adult. Well, first of all, with any kind of somatic work, are they open to somatic work?
Yes.
Yes. Have they done any of it?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So that's good because that's number one. You want to have people, you don't want to spring somatic work on people, especially with this kind of profile, you want to give people always, my rules are always tell people what you're going to do. Don't surprise people.
Mm-hmm.
Suggest it to them first
Mm-hmm.
and then get their consent because you're going to, oh, this is what I'm thinking. How about this? And then, then they have a say. They go, I don't like this. And there's always room to change it. But in general, what's often lacking is impulse into the body that is a little stronger. So think of swaddling. Often
Mm-hmm.
there's absence of that kind of pressure
Mm-hmm.
into the body. So, and this is, you have to explore this in a safe way, obviously. Like, are they comfortable, for example, first holding a blanket around them? Would that feel comfortable or safe or suffocating for them? For some people, it feels like, oh, it's just too much. And for some other people, it's like, this is lovely. Pillows, body, what I'm saying is body boundaries. What's often missing is body boundaries, and then these themes. Are these themes in their lives like not really clear about boundaries? And yeah, okay, so that's a classic theme. And so you want to reestablish body boundaries. So you start that with pressure into the body. Again, I would start with them having their own agency about it, like holding a blanket across so you feel a little pressure. Pillows. If the relationship is safer and they feel comfortable with non-sexual invasive touch, you can do something where you hold a pillow against their body, like again, like a side. I would not do the front for a while. The side or the back. Again, does this feel safe? How do you know? Can you feel that? Can you push into it? And then you play with this where this boundary is, because you have to first feel your own physical body boundaries before I can do this with you.
Gotcha.
Right? So think of all those kind of tools. There's an exercise in my book called the wet roll. So like wet sandbag, and you're letting the person roll on the floor very slowly, and they're feeling the weight shifting and the pressure against the floor. So they feel their own body boundary in relation to the floor, for example. But things like that, where again, body boundary, think of a baby that hasn't been swaddled or held enough because they were ripped out too early, usually for traumatic procedures, and then incubator, you don't have that nervous system input of the body boundaries.
Right.
Because every culture swaddles a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's missing. So think about that kind of imprint. Would that be something that this client would be open to, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, get creative. And again, you start with one little thing and then you see how they take it, and then you can do a little bit more, right? You wouldn't like go, okay, let me swaddle you and I'll hold you, and that'd be, well, it'd be too much.
Yeah.
You start with like, let's start with a little blanket and how that is, and you just scuffled it up,
Right. Great.
because,
Thank you so much.
yeah, you're welcome. Let's do one more.
Yes, Malia. We have so many. Would you like to choose a hand?
Denise, I have you right in front of me there. Denise, would you like to come on?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much for accepting my question. Manuela, I've been pleased every time I've seen you and experienced your presentations. I have a question. With the less frequent touching these days with COVID-19 and things like that, do you advise or promote ASMR, which I kind of just found out about, autonomous sensory meridian response? There are thousands of videos on YouTube about it, where people whisper, and this evokes a sensation on the skin, which people are missing with skin starvation these days, or self-stimulation. A weighted blanket is like the swaddling that you mentioned.
Yes, wait a minute. I have one.
The showers where the water is trickling on your skin, just to develop or increase what people have been missing. Things like this. Do you advise?
So I'm not familiar with that particular video series, so I can't comment on that. But all those examples you brought, fabulous. Yes, anything that gets people into relationship with their body in a safe way. And just the previous caller too, right? That what I was saying, start slow and ask your client, how is that for you? And is it safe enough, right? So you always want to like, because you don't want to get people triggered, right? And it's okay when people are sad and, oh, I miss this and I have grief that I'm not touched. That's all natural. That's just part of the, oh, it's so good to be touched and I grieve it and I miss it and now I have it, that's okay. But you don't want people to get dissociated. That's what you don't want. Right?
Exactly.
So that's what you're always looking at, that window of tolerance where people can be with the sadness and the feelings in a safe way, but not get overwhelmed by their own experience. So
Exactly.
you start with the smallest. So if a shower feels good, let's start with the shower, and if a breath together, works really well, and we do this little skin experiment we just did together, and that feels great, wonderful. And then you can add more tools into it. And then what happens is usually clients get very creative themselves. Oh, now I can try this. Or now I went on the internet and I found that.
Yes,
That's
yes,
fabulous, right?
yes.
You always start with the lowest threshold where you know your client will be successful.
Exactly. I agree with that. The
Right.
warm shower, by the way, might mimic the way it was in utero.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. I think we have room for a couple more. Who else is having their hand up? I don't see anybody right now. Let's see. Oh, Sveta, would you like to come on?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. I wanted to inquire about how to release the chronic pain in the neck and the shoulder, which is coming through traumatic events with the somatic healing. What do you suggest as a practice to let go of all the weight that I'm carrying in my neck and shoulder and my stomach area? Having a lot of food insensitivities and intolerances, and even for chronic pain from the last 15 years, all reports on paper, everything seems to be normal. But my awareness tells me that it's my stuck emotions in the body that are leading to this pain.
Mm-hmm. Are you in any situation to work with a somatic therapist? Is that possible?
Not that I'm aware of in my area, but I can definitely research or reach you out in order to work with you, or however it
Well,
pans
I'm
out.
not taking anybody right now, but for sure you can look at, other different somatic Hakomi, or, all these wonderful teachers have other students and teachers that they work with. But why I'm saying that is because what you describe, even that little snippet, it sounds more interconnected with more support and different tools that you might need to learn. But having said that, you always, like just what I said before, you always want to start with the lowest threshold of feeling like, oh, I can do this. There's no use to do any practice where you go like, oh my gosh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't. You're already setting yourself up for failure. So if you can lie flat on the floor and you have your feet up and you can do that, start there. Okay, I've had a lot of chronic injuries and things like that myself, and especially I come from dance, and so I'm a very somatic person. So when I have any kind of limitations, I really don't like it, and I don't like going to but it was a deep teaching for me to go like, okay, back to the floor. Very simple. And then start by doing very, very gentle micro movements. We're talking so little. We're talking like this. And bring the breath with the little movement. So you're not doing, oh, that yoga stretch I used to be able to do 15 years ago, right? No, we're going to let that go because now I'm here. And you just start by literally kind of bringing in small little motions. Oh, this feels good. Oh, I like that. Oh, and I have this music to play that I'm really liking as well. Oh, I'm discovering this breath. There's a lot of practices you can do, and they're all fabulous. But when your body is in chronic pain, you are already trained to like reject a lot of them because you can't do them. Does that make sense?
Yes. Mhm.
So use your own intelligence of your body. There is a way into your body. You just have to find it. And sometimes you have to go, for example, if you have a neck and shoulder pain, then you start with your feet because they're okay, I imagine.
Mhm.
Feet are okay? Great. So you lie down, you relax everything else as much as you can, get them in the most comfortable position that you can. And then you start with your feet and you have beautiful music on and you play with your feet because the body is interconnected. Because you're playing in your feet, the neck goes, oh, that looks good. The neck is paying attention, the shoulder's paying attention. Suddenly go like, oh, I feel neutral. Just like Michelle showed us, right? She had her arm, there was a place in the body that was neutral. Fantastic. That's a resource. We call it a somatic resource. So you just have to find these entry points into your body that are either neutral, pleasant, okay, no big deal. You start there because the rest of the pain body is listening.
Mhm.
But if you go right to the pain and you want to relieve the pain, which of course you want that, but there's so much attached to it in that moment that's very hard because then you're fighting like, oh, that feels that, and I need to protect, and then there's this feeling, and then you give up, and then see this doesn't work, right? So is that a helpful like formula for you?
Yes, like it's not that I can't do things, and I've been venturing into a lot of modalities and trying different things. But it's just a disconnection with the self is so much that just sitting still and feeling the feelings is the toughest part.
I agree.
Mhm.
That's why movement and using, and I consider breath movement. That's why moving and doing very gentle movement, or even the skin brushing that we just did, you can do that like across the chest or across your belly or across your shoulder, right? And you do that very gentle, kind of waking up your sensory perceptions, because every time you have a positive body experience, it's going to come to help you with the pain every single time. Because the reverse is true too, right? You have a pain body, and every time you go through a pain cycle, more holding, more shutting down, right? Oh, and so you want to unwind that kind of loop. That's what you want to do. So bring some gentle micro movements and surround yourself with practices like Tai Chi or Feldenkrais or very gentle movement modalities that are so gentle into the Qigong. Yeah, somebody's posting Qigong. Micro movements that your body can do. So work with can do, not like, oh, I can't. Always look for that, and don't give it much attention right now. Just go look, oh, I can't. This I can do. Ooh, this I can do, and then your body starts helping you out because then you will feel a sense of well-being and joy or pleasure, and you want those kind of natural endorphins to come out and help out because that's the antidote to the pain body. Yeah, sorry that your body is suffering so much.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. If I may quickly ask one more thing here, if you allow me, please. How to let go of the victimhood story or the childhood abandonment stuff that we're holding on to and causes different problems and ailments in the body.
It needs to be heard. That's the short answer. It needs to be heard by another. So that's why I asked you right off the bat, do you have somebody you can talk to? It needs to be heard. Writing is also, it needs to be listened, acknowledged, and heard. And the victim part is a very important part. It needs to be acknowledged that that happened.
In my case, it's more to do with the subconscious brain, right? The story that resides in the body rather than.
But when I on the floor and I'm listening to my body and I can feel that victim story coming up and how it encases me or holds me or freezes me, and then I play and my feet, there's another story because that story is true too. There's multiple stories, and what happens in trauma in particular, we go very quickly, and that's normal because we always go to like we want to minimize and avoid and get away from the pain. But what we need to do is like, yes, and that's true too, right? Because if you say like, oh, I had enough of your victim part here, then that victim is going to come roaring back, right? So it's coming into relationship with that in a very kind way. So, and then finding these other creative ways to work with. So continuum is a body of work that I love. That's what I teach a lot, and another very gentle movement form that you can be exploring with. So you want to have that. And again, journaling is a great way. Journal it, let that victim part speak, and have a piece of paper there, and then come back to your movement. And then the victim shows up again, and then go back to your movement. So but I really encourage you to work with a somatic therapist if you can.
Thanks a lot. I
Somebody's
appreciate it.
even offering something to you. There's a therapist in Ohio. There you go. Yeah, good. Okay. So let's see. Oh my gosh, we're at our time limit here. So just in finishing up here, so thank you for being here with me. This was just a tiny teaser of the kind of work that somatic therapists do, and especially around attachment. So I hope that you take away that there are many beautiful ways to work with the body, but safety and going slow and attuning to the body is really one of the key principles that you want to learn. And maybe you can start working with your own skin, waking up this beautiful organ, because it's working with yourself in this gentle, kind, listening way. The body carries innate somatic intelligence. It's there. And when we have trauma, when we have pain, when we have all these things happen to us, we're temporarily disconnected from that knowledge, but it doesn't mean the knowledge is not there. This intelligence is there. I've been a therapist for 25 years, worked with all kinds of traumas, and it's always there. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thanks for being game to play with me today. Really nice to see faces. So thank you.